Welcome back to another fantastic episode of I'm Gonna Talk, and you're gonna listen. This is episode, I don't know, and we're in our outdoor backyard office. Mr. Hopperson is eating the clover patch, and there's a single bumblebee doing its best to carry on the bumblebee legacy. And there's birds everywhere, and there's a cow scratching her face on the post, itching her face on the post. I put 5 holes in the ground today. Homestead update. I put 5 holes in the ground today. And I put 4 posts around each one, which is over twice as many posts as I've ever done for the green posts in one day. So my arms are getting used to putting posts in the ground, which is good because not only do we still, after those, have 7 or 8 more trees to do, but we still have the rest of the orchard where I want to take the metal T-posts out and put green posts in. So you might ask yourself, why would you do green why would you do green posts instead of T-posts? Well, the T-posts are extremely strong, sturdy, and durable. Putting them in, unless you have a giant pounding hammer like hydraulic press, putting those things in is a lot of work. Then they don't go anywhere, and you can use a tool to pop them back out again, which is not a big deal. But the problem is to really get, if you're putting up some wire mesh around the T-posts, you have to have the T-posts facing in with their back, the spiny back, outwards, so you can really loop them up good. The problem is that's not how the T-post getter outer particularly works. So you have to get on the inside to block them out, which is not ideal for the tree, especially since usually the reason why you need to pop those out is because the tree is getting too big. And some of those T-posts have been in there for 2 years, and the trees are big and bushy, which is good. Some of them, other ones not so much, and I think it's just more undue stress on the tree. Whereas like the green ones, you can just kind of, with not too much effort, you can pull one of the big green sticks out. That's not too bad. And I don't particularly like bird netting for this, but actually it works really well. Until you need to get in there, and this is where metal like chicken wire. Oh, the hummingbird is pissed at a yellow jacket. The yellow jacket is not backing down. The humming the hummingbird's chirping and beeping and fluttering at it, trying to make it go away. So the wire mesh, like chicken wire, kind of allows you to open it back up to get in there, then close it without really permanently damaging anything. Whereas with bird netting, you got to cut the bird netting every single time, and then kind of zip tie it together. So to kind of do bird netting, you got to kind of plan on the fact that you're going to be leaving that bird netting there for a couple years and not tugging and pulling and stuff at it. You can cut kind of like a little notch in it and get in there. That's kind of what I did. So that's kind of a bugaboo. I don't know. There's pros and cons. There's a reason why like nobody has this shit figured out. Um, it's also a reason why nobody tries to do orchards anymore. Um, a lot of the overwhelming amount of people I see doing gardens right now have very, very small backyard gardens that are like 100 square feet or something. They're like very small. And that's not an insult. That's just because like you'd think, oh, like I've got acreage. I'm going to do a garden. I'm going to have tons of gardens. I'm going to have 5 gardens. Every single inch of that is something that you now have to control from everything on the planet that's going to come eat it. Um, Caterpillars are kind of like the newest, whatever these things are. Caterpillar things do. One caterpillar can eat like an entire plant. It's unreal. So that's kind of a whole deal. So that's kind of the homestead farmstead update. Um, I don't know if I really necessarily have any have any big topics this time. I wish I could say I did, but um, oh, the hummingbird is right in my face. Um, Kind of the first thing I'll say just about social media is there's kind of this funny unspoken rule about social media for people to like keep. Hi, little guy. Hi. The hummingbird was about 6 inches away from my face. Okay. Um, so there's like this unspoken rule with social media, especially Twitter, that you're not supposed to like beef with your mutuals. It's seen as very bad manners if you beef with your mutuals. You're supposed to keep that. You're supposed to keep your shit tight. You're supposed to, keep it to the DMs or whatever if you're going to disagree with each other. That's what's seen as professional. Otherwise, the community just kind of burns down and implodes. And I wasn't paying attention to who was whose mutuals and trashed somebody's idea, and it turns out they're followed by like six mutuals, and I'm like, oh fuck, here we go. And then I had this whole thing written out, and then I just kind of shrugged at them, and then didn't say anything, and then they immediately like kind of quoted my post to shit on me, which is, side note, of all of the taboo things that you're not supposed to do, you're also not supposed to do that, because a bigger channel, or a bigger influencer doing that to a smaller influencer like me just drives more traffic to me. They're they It's not going to hurt my feelings. And then so I just laughed at them. I thought it was funny that they think that they're going to trash me and somehow scare me or hurt my feelings or something. And I'll tell you what the topic is in a minute. Uh, it's a topic that always gets me going, which is why I think it's such successful engagement bait. And I fall for it every time, but I don't care. Um, I went and one of the things I wanted to say to them is, okay, name, number, blue check, because they were what I call a name, number, blue check. They were also they identify themselves as, you know, female, conservative, MAGA, anti-communist, because that just magically gets you hundreds and hundreds of follows and engagement because they think, ooh, another girl, MAGA bunny, but they're just name number blue check. Like these are all Chinese bots or Indian bots or something. They're not real conservative. Very few of them are real actual conservative gals. It's like a handful, and you can tell who they are, who the real ones are, like immediately. And there's maybe 5 major ones. Anyway, so I was like, I want to say, okay, name number blue check, fake conservative gal. And I'm like, no, you know, fuck that. I'm better than that. I'm not better than that, but I felt like I was being better than that at the time. And I went and looked just to check. Just to check. And they were they're one of these like bot, they look like a bot farm that just says like 1 or 2 word responses to everything because they think that shit's just like edgy and cool, or that's just all the bots can manage. But it kind of threw me for a loop because with me, you know, what I had responded to, they had said like 3 sentences worth of stuff. It wasn't just, you know, 2 words, 3 words, 4 words. But they responded to me with like a 3 word response. And the more I thought about the 3 word response, like the less sense their 3 word response made. And then that's why I just shrugged at it, because I'm like, this is actually a bot. And then when they immediately like responded, or when they quoted me with just basically like, oh, we got another one, it's like, okay, so not only you're a bot, but you're trying to like engage more people by like, it was clearly an algorithm and not a real person. And I think the bots have engagement bait down to a science. And because I read through their timeline, their TL, and their entire timeline was like 3 word responses with, you know, the occasional like 5 or 6 word response here or there. And so all these name number fake female gal conservative bots, they pick up so much so many follows. And what it reminds me of, hello Mr. Hopperson, it reminds me of Facebook all over again, where it would be fake conservative gal trying to like all your stuff and trying to be friends with all their mutuals and build clout and work their way up the line. And the more people that follow them back, the more clout they build, and the more they work their way up. And it's either a 3-letter agency or China, India, or, you know, Russia, you know, or, you know, some kind of scammers, you know, trying to, I don't know, trying to hold people hostage, waiting for the DMs so they can, I don't know, hold people hostage. But you've got to be careful with your social media. Some of these people should have absolutely known better. Some of them were like senators and stuff that had followed this name number blue check, and quite a few mutual influencers followed them. And it's just like, I read through their timeline. I'm like, following them for what? This person doesn't say anything. This person has no coherent stance on anything. They're just liking everything down their algorithm, and then occasionally randomly quoting or it's somebody was trashing Musk, talking about how stupid he's being with his AI, and it's like, dude, you're so worried about your algorithm banning some of the no words, while bots just are still just running rampant on Twitter, and it's true. It's true, and bots are just, and then side pivot. It's the same thing on YouTube. So I people have been messaging me saying that their posts aren't showing up on my channel, and I'm like, I believe you. My last couple videos got very little engagement. Um, and like I said, one person's, even after I allowed the post through, it still hid the post. Um, and me posting on other people's, I posted on this one guy's. Me and him talk back and forth. He's kind of a he talks about job stuff. Me and him talking back and forth a lot, and it censored my post several times, and then it finally let my post through, and then it censored his response on his own fucking channel, and it just said replies. That's all it said. I might have brought this up a couple weeks ago, and like 4 or 5 days later, I could finally see what his response was, and it was just a completely normal, like, thank you response. And I was just like, engagement on YouTube is impossible, and engagement on Twitter is like not much better. And people keep saying like, this Twitter is supposed to be like, Musk only had to do one thing, just free speech platform, Mister Free Speech Absolutist, and it's just a joke. It's just a joke. The dude's out of his mind. He's got the attention span of a goldfish. He keeps, he'll be talking about his new, Grok thing for a couple days, then he'll be talking about his new rocket thing for a couple days, and now he's talking about his new autopilot thing and how his autopilot's beating out all the other autopilots. And a couple days ago, it was about how his AI has gotten no traction on. Hello, Mr. Hop. Oh, Mr. Hopperson's running away. How his AI is not being treated fairly amongst all the other AIs in Apple's store, which is a joke because he is so big, he could create his own phone. He could create his own phone network. He could, if he wanted to, he could create his own operating system. He could rival Apple overnight if he wanted to, but he doesn't. You know why? Because he is exactly like Orange Man, where he seeks validation and inclusion. He wants to somehow ride in the middle between, like, I'm my own self-made man, but also you have to accept me. And that's why, like, Musk is never gonna be as big as, like, DJI, for example. Because DJI is like, okay, we'll just sideload our programs. Or like Gab, just sideload our programs, problem solved. Um, and I know there's various censorship and technical reasons for that, but it's just like Musk is like constantly, he doesn't want he doesn't want to make the best program. He wants to make the most accepted program. He's swearing up and down how Grok 4 deep thinking is the best coding program. And it's not the best, but he wants it to be the most accepted, is what he wants. And it's just like, dude, you're not going to get there. If you want to be the best, you have to actually be the best. You have to actually get out in front and lead. and he wants to lead right up until it uh, conflicts with his lack of acceptance. And it's pathetic because he wasn't content, and even then, he wasn't content with being the leader. He wanted to be the leader in all of his products, and he wanted to have government contracts for all of his products. And he wanted all of the red tape cleared for all of his products. And it's like nobody's ever made him. Goodbye, Mr. Hopperson. Like, he's never had to earn anything. He's like all these other bajillionaires where they buy, they buy the parts of Microsoft, or they buy the software. They buy PayPal, or like Zuckerberg chased out the actual guy that made Facebook. Um, every single billionaire or trillionaire or whatever, almost, and I can't think of a single one off the top of my head that didn't actually rip somebody else off. Oh, the hummingbird drama. That didn't rip somebody else off. What, Steve Jobs? Oh, there's the AC, son of a bitch. Steve Jobs ripped off Wozniak. Uh, the list is like a mile long. Musk bought PayPal. Musk, can't remember who he chased away from Tesla. And then also Zuckerberg had to basically backdoor everybody's phones to be able to wipe out their competition because he couldn't do it. These people are frauds. I guess I don't know about Bezos. I'd have to go check, but they're frauds. They're phonies. You can't point to anything that they have done that they haven't ripped off of somebody else first. Bill Gates. I mean, what did Bill Gates do? It's not like I was thinking like Nintendo, but like Nintendo has had a lot of major players. Like, a lot of things had to come together to make Nintendo work the way it did. Miyamoto was the heart of it, but Iwata did a lot. Reggie did a lot. There's a lot of major players that for the perfect storm of Nintendo to happen. They fudged up a lot too, though. But it's interesting. I think, to me, like, people hold them in high regard, and it's like, for what? They're you take away. They're not Tony Stark. Like, you take their shit away from them, and they're not building anything anymore because they have these vast moats. They have built these vast moats. And Musk was talking about how he needs another 20,000 GPUs, another 20,000 AI GPUs, and then he'll be able to fix everybody's timelines. And it's like, another 20,000 GPUs, then what? And where are you going to find the power? Where in the grid? Where in the grid is enough juice to run another 20,000 GPUs? See, like, Musk keeps talking about solar. Why doesn't he just make his own solar company? Like, you better believe with $1 trillion, I could do some crazy shit. Okay? Like, I would just make my own solar. Like, I would just make my I would just make my own turbines. And I know it takes a while to make the tooling and shit, but like, that's what I would do. I would just make my own turbines. I would just make my own power plants. I would just have my own city. And I would have my own phones. And it's, and I would pay people a lot of money to work there. I would have robots for some stuff. The dangerous things, I'd have robots for. But I'd have people, and the people would be putting the panels together and building this giant new city. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There would be farms. It'd be self-contained. There'd be farms and food and people running agriculture, and there'd be fresh meals. Everybody would know where the food came from because there would just be farms there. I don't know. Like I don't understand. I don't understand why these trillionaires like fuck up so bad. Like the dude that was running Intel. How did he fuck up so bad? It's kind of rhetorical. The answer is he was selling out to China the entire time. But like if you're running like a mega corporation like Intel, that shit was practically on rails. Like you have to fuck that up on purpose. And you ha- I was telling my friend like to it's human to screw things up, but to like hose it up really really bad, it takes computers. And that's the thing. Um, we have all this technology, and things keep actually getting worse in a lot of ways. Like I want to make an AI machine so I can run my own AI, but also like let's not pretend that, except in the winter months, I don't actually have time anymore. Like I kind of get it now. I don't have time to go camping anymore. I don't have time to actually like write a book anymore. And I think a lot of people are coming to that conclusion that the more everything gets automated, the more robots, actually like the easier everything gets. Everything is still getting more expensive. You have all these H-1Bs and shit. Everything going to Mexico, shit's still getting more expensive. And a lot of that is government red tape. Um, if I want to build things on my property, like I know it's just going to be a mountain of paperwork. If I want to chunk off a part of my property to be agriculture, it's going to be a chunk of paperwork. For me to try to get an ag loan, which got denied, it was a chunk of paperwork. Like this is literally agriculture. I'm staring at a field of hay and horses and cows and Christmas trees. This is agriculture. It's literally agriculture. I'm on a well with septic in the middle of fucking nowhere. And I couldn't get an ag loan. Like that's how broken shit is. I shouldn't have had to pay a penny down on this place. And the interest should have been basically nothing. Because you're just taking a chunk of property and trying to farm on it, which is exactly what I'm doing. I have about a third of it. I have about a third of it turned into agriculture now. Actually, more than that. Um, nope, got fucked on the ag loan. I think the guy lied to me. I know it's over 2 years later, and that still bugs me. But the reality is like all of everything, like the more technologically advanced we get, the more we get fucked. Is my point. And these richy riches, the moat's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm not complaining that they don't need $100 million salary a year. The top 0.1% or whatever keeps getting further and further and further away. That's not really the problem. It's frustrating, but that's not the problem. You divide out their 100,000, and everybody else doesn't actually get paid very much more. I think the problem is they have these insanely big salaries, and they have an impossible moat. They can drown anybody who goes up against them with either lawyers or litigation, or they can just change the laws to suit their favor. Like, it is a literal like corptocracy. Like, people, oh, well, that's capitalism for you. It's like, no, we're so far beyond capitalism that, like, people are just so stupid that blame capitalism for this. You can't just go sell your fruit at the market. Meanwhile, illegals running around with their own little market stands can just go sell their food whenever they want, wherever they want, with total impunity and no regards for food safety. How does that work? And you can't just go feed homeless people. You want to go feed homeless people, you can't, because like you'll be violating some this or that and the other. I think the most you can do realistically is give out a bottled water. They can, even though they take the bottled water, pour it out, and then turn it in for the deposit. You can try to give out food. Eventually, you'll get caught, and then you'll get. Um, there's laws. There's all these different food laws. Um, the entire system is rigged against people trying to work their way up, and that shouldn't discourage people. Like, that's what they want you to be discouraged. I think the reality is, and like, I'm gonna screw his name up, PNW Gorilla, um, OD ODGG. Fuck, I always fuck up his website. Um, he started out of his garage, and then he just got his certificate the other day to legally be able to sell mods and stuff, and he's already upgraded his warehouse. Like, you can make it happen. Like, there's still room in the universe for entrepreneurs. Um, I mean, not that I'm some big shot, but I started with a computer and Microsoft Word and made books, wrote books. Before that, I was doing comics. Where I screwed up in comics is I spent money buying things that I thought I needed and I didn't. But I didn't know that. I got taken advantage of. Well, when I went to books, I made sure I didn't get ever taken advantage of ever again. And here we are. I'm not going to say my books are massively successful, but you can do it. And this is even now we're a year and change into people just flooding the market with thousands of AI books, including now AI prepper books. And there's still a universe where there's room for you. There's room for your kids. It's not getting any easier. um, there's still room to make things happen. It takes even more work, and I think that's why I get triggered's not the right word. I take the bait every time the boomers start talking about how hard they had and shit. The boomers have no fucking idea. Unless you fought in a war, like I don't want to hear it. I get so sick and tired of it because so many major anti 2A bills happened on their watch while they just sat there and let it happen and wrote it out. They didn't care about their kids at all. They didn't care about the life they were leaving their kids. They're still sitting on either paid off or houses with almost no interest rate, and they complain about their boomer checks not being enough while they're on free Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And I earned this. It's like, they allow you to have it. They allow you to have a tiny portion of it. You didn't earn your Social Security any more than I earned my unemployment. Okay? If you had earned that money, they should just have put all the money into your bank account and let you use it and potentially fail. And they didn't. Instead, they make you fight for it over and over and over again, and then try to take it away from you and try to lower it and this and that. And the reality is it's illegals funding your Social Security right now. Go look it up if you want. Now, if you served in the military, that's different. I think if you served in the military, you should be set for life, as long as you know, dealt with your discharge properly, which the overwhelming amount do. Or if you kind of got screwed in your discharge, either you deserved it or a few people did get screwed. And usually you can go get that fixed. Um, this concept that you worked in a warehouse and so therefore you just get a free ride forever is insane. And that's coming from, my dad was a teamster and his whole life. But what did they do? What did they do for him? He worked in a blazing hot warehouse where the fans rarely worked. His promotions and the extra things that he got to do got taken away whenever they decided they didn't like him anymore. Um, where was his time off when he had his kid? Um, why was there just like such raging nepotism? The reality is the unions are weak. The unions are weak and the boomers are weak. The vast majority. I'm not speaking about all of them, okay? Like, there'll be one in the comments. Da 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 da. Look, if you served in the military, that's great. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about either the rhinos who didn't do shit their entire life, or all the flower children that are just blitzed out of their brains, and then now that they're retired, they want to go wave their signs on the side of the road. And it's like, you just don't have anything to do. Like, we're we're at the tail end of all this now, and what's gonna have to happen is the boomers are gonna have to let what's going to happen happen, and it's not going to be pretty, and it's going to suck. And I think Half-Ass was talking about it earlier, talking about how you have to really like galvanize, steel your children's, like steel like the armor, the metal, steel your, galvanize galvanize the next generation to be tough because they're not going to be easy decisions. We're we're out of easy decisions. And again, I can't tell you how many people go, well, thank goodness I'm retired. It's like, yeah, you're retired. Fuck the rest of us. You're retired. You can just sit down and watch the world burn. Like, what kind of fucking attitude is that? It's the same. It's the same shitty attitude of people like, well, just move, just move. Dude, I'm not fucking moving. This place is amazing. This is where I grew up. There's rolling hills in every direction for miles. This is like waking up every day in camping. Except for the hummingbirds that are always fighting. Besides that, it's like camping every day. Why would I move? What kind of weird chicken shit? You move. Like, why should I move? I was born here. And this hell, man, the illegals and the H-1Bs and shit, that just gets me going. And people talk about, well, the Sikhs this and the Sikhs that. I don't care anymore because if they are just as shitty of truck drivers as all the other H-1B shitty truck drivers, I don't care. I don't care. I'm tired of caring. I'm tired of acting like I care. You want this country to be great again, it has to start by being America first, Americans first. And instead, the shit I see on the news, more Hamas getting dropped off all over America and all over the rest of the world. I don't I don't know why we need to be dropping off Hamas people in the United States. We already have the Hamas LARPers here. Now we just have flat out Hamas here. Where, if this is such a popular opinion that everybody wants, why do they have to sneak them in, drop them off in some city in some state? So I'm gonna get on my soapbox again and remind all of you that like your own leadership is going to be selling you out for more illegal money because they are getting paid at the top, from the top, to accept illegals into your area when you do not have the infrastructure. And my point to all this is, and why the boomers are going to have to get out of the way and the next generations are going to have to steel themselves, is a lot of not nice things are going to have to happen. These teeny tiny towns, and it's the same thing in the UK, these teeny tiny towns cannot support hundreds or thousands of illegals just being dropped off overnight. They can't. That's insane. These dumbasses that run these towns already can't balance their budgets worth shit. They're already all kinds of fuckered sideways. And you want them to try to handle thousands of illegals all of a sudden? How the fuck is that supposed to work? People are going to have to do not nice things. Because the nice options aren't available. Okay? That's it. That's it. And the reason why I get sick and tired of people defending the boomers is because the boomers are the first people, well, and screaming Zoomers, although they're starting to become quite hardened very very quickly. all these just bleeding heart, old people. Look, I know you want to be nice. Like, I get it. That's great. But you're not letting a whole bunch of them in your house. And there's the fucking problem. Why is it always somebody else's house with somebody else's money? And why you always gotta blame Christians? Christians this, Christians that. Why you gotta blame Christians? You think there's just a magic Christian wand that would just like fix the incompatibility issues that we have with the ferals? How the fuck is that supposed to work? Look, if they're such good drivers, they wouldn't have had to lie, cheat, and steal to get their driver's licenses and all that shit. Like, and their own countries would be fine. If India is so awesome, why are they all moving here? If India is so awesome, why don't they have big tech that rivals ours? Same thing with China. If China is so fucking awesome, why is everybody trying to leave? It's like it was so easy to blame the Zoomers. It went from the Zoomers didn't want to work to there being no work to there being no point in working. And I think for a solid 8 to 10 years now, the Gen Xers have been like, the Zoomers can do whatever the fuck they want. If they want to throw this whole thing upside down and just dump it on its head, then at this point the Gen Xers are just like, whatever. Because somehow the Gen Xers got blamed for everything when by the time we were old enough to vote, all the gun bans had already been in place multiple times over. And then we're stuck in sand war after sand war after sand war. And then they pull them out, they put them back. They pull them out, they put them back. You're going to end up with entire multi generations of people with absolutely nothing to lose. And if you think that they aren't going to be smart enough to know who caused all of this, and you think they're not smart enough to know who's sitting on all the houses that are paid off for zero interest or whatever, like, you think they're that dumb? Like, they're going to be coming, and it's not going to be nice. They're the cabal can try to change history as much as it wants, but the Zoomers know they're just becoming more black pilled by the day. They know exactly who caused all of this. They know exactly why this happened. Um, well, little baby hummingbird right next to the older hummingbird. It's kind of like how, like, birds, even though birds look all identical to us, the birds can all tell each other apart somehow, even when they're the exact same species. I mean, they all look identical, and still the birds can tell each other apart somehow. Our society has become that way. I can walk into a crowd of people that have no idea who I am. They've never seen me before in their life, but they all immediately will know exactly what I'm about. It doesn't matter how much I'm wearing. It doesn't matter what time of year. They all fucking know. And we all do this. I can walk right through a crowd of protesters. It doesn't fucking matter because they all know. And I know. And they know I know. And I know they know. They won't talk to me. They'll look right past me and they'll wait until I go by. And this notion that somehow this is going to fall back on Gen X. Everybody knows that we want to be left alone. Everybody knows what happens when we get fucked with. It is ugly. It is extremely, extremely ugly every time we get fucked with. And as much as I hate the whole like honey badger thing, you know, that's it. That's it in a nutshell. Is people have less and less to lose and less of a motivation to be compatible moving forward. We're all coexisting right now with little bubbles around ourselves, which is fine as long as those bubbles don't get popped. And people can see it on our faces, and you can see it on each other's faces. That you look and people are just grinding their teeth, and then you're just trying to like buy groceries, and you're just looking at that bread, and you're like, oh, this fucking bread. You know, like, this fucking bread. And then you see people get ambushed that look just like you by 8 or 9 people on TV, and you're like, man, those people better get fucking brought to justice. And so you get on social media and you're like, hey, and you see everyone else, hey, those people better be brought to justice, or else the no things are going to happen. And dude, even when Linus Tech Tips on their main show is talking about vigilantes and vigilantism, and they're in Canada, and they're talking about vigilantes. Shout out to my Canadian homies up there on our little maple leaf top hat. When even LTT is talking about fucking vigilantes for 20 minutes of their show, you know there's a fucking problem. A huge problem. It is a warning that if checks and balances aren't maintained, if the old rules aren't maintained, where these ambushes aren't addressed, that the no things are going to happen. I don't want the no things to happen, but I don't want people that look like me getting ambushed either, and filmed and mocked and ridiculed. Even oh crap! Of course I'm gonna. Even the McCloskeys got his AR back the other day, which is amazing. I don't know if the New York 9 ever got out, but I know the J6ers got out. And we don't forget. And we can't be bought. And maybe that was like the difference. Oh, the drama. Wow, those hummingbirds, these 2 hummingbirds, they are not backing down from each other. It sounds like they're fighting with lightsabers. Oh, it's just the craziest sound. I don't know if the mic picks it up, but anyway, the boomers, like, they were able to be bought off. They had a nice, easy time, flush with money. They could buy whatever they want. They didn't need a dual income. They had tons of spare time. they could afford tons of kids and cars in the garage and a nice house. They had everything. They were kept fat and sassy, you know? And the kids these days, they're like, "Oh, you mean I'm not going to be able to own a house until I'm like 45? By the time they're 45, it's probably going to be 55." They're like, "Oh, this whole you're going to own nothing and like it thing is like real." What do you think they're going to do? They're going to look at the people and they're going to know who took that away. And the cities are going to burn. And because of the youths. And they think that taking cell phones away from kids in schools is going to help. And they at least in our state, they're making it, or they've already made it rather, to where they don't have to report the kids getting assaulted in the no ways. They don't have to like report that to the parents, or if they do, it's like quite a ways away. Um, it's not immediate. You think if your kid gets attacked, that they immediately have to tell you, but in some states they don't anymore. There was I want to say it was like a year or two ago now. There was a kid that got attacked. The videos, there was videos taken. They didn't tell the parent. They didn't tell the parents, and the kid zooped themselves, unfortunately, and the video was kept a secret from the parents, and the info that it happened was kept secret from parents. And like, you gotta understand, like, this is the next generation that's growing up. This is a generation that's being ambushed in schools and videotaped and ridiculed forever. This is a generation who can have photos taken of them and have the AI make it look like anything. And instead of society maturing up and figuring out how to deal with this, um, once those photos and videos arise, it's going to be that kid's life is over. Or there could be a gal and maybe she does some videos to make ends meet when she's younger. And then when she's older, those videos come out and that gal loses everything. That shit happens all the time. They're in college and they do some videos to make ends meet, and then they get the job that they want and that video pops back up and they lose everything. Like, society is primed to just go total clusterfuck. And you might say, well, what's the answer? What's the answer? What's the answer? The answer is that we steel ourselves for what's going to happen, and you rally the parts of your family together that will rally. And if that means everyone moving out to a farm somewhere and consolidating your boomer checks, trying to find jobs further out. Um, because every time the shit hits the fan, there's this battle cry to take out the more well-to-do neighborhoods, and that battle cry usually sounds a little different every time. Sometimes it's eat the rich. Sometimes it's like, let's go to the rich neighborhoods. Sometimes they want to recruit in the upper middle class neighborhoods, or force them to get out and march with them. Um, but like, you gotta understand that, like, this animosity, every time the protests kick off, more and more and more people know why things are actually the way they are. And the older generation is just going to have to get out of the way. And they're going to have to help secure the homestead and watch the little monsters, because there's just going to have to be a lot of stuff that has to happen. Whether you're guarding your church, or whether, whether there's active shooters and you've got to go get somebody out of the city. There was an active shooter close by recently, and man, if my wife had been down there, I might have had to go get her in the middle of an active situation. Like, and if we'd had little monsters here, we would have had to have, grandparents watching little monsters while I go and have to take care of things. And I don't expect the older generation to run and gun, but they're gonna have to help. And I guess I'll close with this. If you might be asking yourself, well, what makes me think they're not gonna help? I will tell you, I saw firsthand during the Rona so many families get torn apart because of some boomer that wanted everybody to get vaccinated, or they can't see so and so, or a bunch of fucking millennials saying that grandma and grandpa can't see their kids unless they go get vaccinated first, or vice versa. Like, if a brother or sister doesn't go get vaxxed, they're literally killing grandma or grandpa. I can't tell you how many times it's like, they're literally killing grandma. They said that was a battle cry here that they were using to assault people, saying, you're literally killing grandma here. I was like, no, you're not. Whatever. Anyway, that was part one. Oh, when I really saw this massive generational shift. But part two was when parents had to start going back into the office. The grandparents were not helping watching the kids. They'd rather go fart around in their fucking RVs than watch the grandkids. And it's like, there's no babysitters anymore. Okay? You're retired. You're retired. Take care of the damn grandkid. What the fuck is wrong with you? And every single family I talked to had at least one parent, which would have been the grandparents of their kids, wouldn't help. Wouldn't help watch the kids. I can't tell you how many times I can't come to the office. Nobody will watch the kids. I'm like, dude, you have parents. You have parents. Yeah, they won't watch the kids. What the fuck? And so if they're not going to watch your kids, so you can go to work and try to make some money, so they can sit at home and watch fucking Judge Judy all day, what makes you think they're going to help you when the shit is the fan? No, they're going to fucking show up and they're going to want your help, and then they're going to backseat drive everything you do. You're going to have to defend the homestead, and they're going to be bitching, why do you need that many rounds in your gun? Why do you need that many rounds in your gun? Even though you've been telling them for years to get a modern pistol and a modern rifle, and instead they go get a pump action because, well, that just seemed like too much. Why would I ever need that? Back when ARs were like $350 a piece, they were practically giving ARs away. Practically giving Glocks away. Well, why do I need that? Why do I need that? I'm like, you think that person is just going to show up, and you think you're going to be able to train them, and you think they're going to, oh, fuck. Now again, I'm not talking about all of them. If you're in the military, I'm not talking about you. But I also know that there was a lot of people in the military in Vietnam and Korea that are anti-gun. Not all of them, but definitely some. Some in the Navy that were anti-gun. Some in the Air Force never picked up a gun. Some in the Navy never picked up a gun. Like, not everybody in the military is pro Pro 2A. And also, okay, I really will wrap it up with this next topic, or this next part of the topic. Thinking that the left has not been training for the last 10 to 12 years is insane. They absolutely have, and at this point, they have outtrained most FUDs out there. They crowdsourced a lot of their guns ages ago, and they have community levels of AKs, ARs, pistols, ammo, 3D printers, all of it. So if you think the left isn't preparing, and if you think the left is just going to be a big pushover, you're wrong. And the gangs, they know how to steal cars, they can 3D print guns, they can make them full auto, they can get whatever magazines they want. And not even talking about the cartels who have full-on military gear and jammers and nods and drones, and like everything has moved on. And I think you need to be able to talk to people about this. I think that is a whole skill in and of itself, is being able to talk to people about this. But I'm watching channels like Heavy Duty Country, who is talking about he was talking about a lot of Palantir and a lot of transhumanism stuff, which is going to be a massive problem soon too if we get that far. And people were calling him fear mongering. It's like, you can't even talk to people about like Palantir, and they're essentially being like an entire AI completely analyzing everybody in the US at the same time, which is basically what Palantir has now. Not to mention all the other AI government contracts that are coming up. You can't even talk about that stuff without fucking retards in the chat going, "Oh, fear-mongering. You're fear-mongering." Dude, those people are going to get everybody killed. And you can't talk about drones, drones are weird. AI is weird. Wake up! And everybody knows somebody like that. And you have to either get those people over on your side as best as you can, and slowly but surely, or you got to just like cut them off. Because this whole thing where it's like, well, you know, if you can't do something right, don't do it at all. It's like, no, at this point it's just like, do your best to do as much as you can. You know, I put in, see, 5, 4, 20. I put in 20 stakes today and dug 5 holes. Like, I never thought I'd be able to do something like that before. But I worked my way up to it and did it. And I'm gonna have to tear that shed down. I've never torn a shed down before. I'm going to have to rebuild a carport. I've never rebuilt a carport before. But I'm just going to try to do it and try to do my best. It's this whole concept of like having to get things perfect, or things are going to be perfect, or things have to be perfect, is like, no, you've got to just try it and do your best. And that goes for talking to people too. You're going to fuck up talking to people. You're going to say dumb shit. Trust me. I say dumb shit all the time. It's going to be awkward. And if you're neurodivergent, you've got to mask a lot, and that takes a lot of energy. But you still got to try it. You still got to do your best, and you've got to try it. And if you're talking to boomers and they're driving you nuts, just say, look, you had 40 years and you didn't do shit. And all your excuses don't matter anymore. We have to work on this stuff. And that might mean canning and jarring. That might mean learning radios. That might mean watching the kids. That might mean making sure they're not playing on the propane tanks. That might mean like weeding and, but like the most frustrating thing of all, if I want to talk about what I feel like was stolen from me as a Gen Xer, is I didn't I didn't even know that I needed to sit down with my grandparents and ask them the things that I should have asked them. Because my grandparents would be laughing at all of this and going, "That's a piece of cake, you little shit." And I'd be like, "Okay, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Because, like, they fucking knew. They knew how to grow everything, they knew how to jar everything, they knew how to kick ass and not take shit from anybody. And we got none of that. We got none of that. Oh man, these hummingbirds are just trauma incarnate. We got none of that. I would love to go back in time and talk to my grandparents. I would have a billion questions for them. Anyway, I'm wrapping it up. I'm hitting live on my art book any day, so the three of you that give a shit about that, hooray. And if I offended you, I'm sorry. I'm not talking about you. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.